Peace and welcome to Atlantis Build Talk Radio, the premier station for 5%er Nation of Gods and Earth social commentary, interviews, musicology, and uncensored discussions about the science of everything in life. This station is a subsidiary of Asia and the Atlantis School for Gifted Youngsters at www.atlantischool.blogspot.com and Asia TV at YouTube/Quanaya. Quanaah.
Closed mouth do not get fed. And if you're not speaking for yourself, who you think gonna speak for you?
Nobody.
I mean, we got parents, but as we get a little older, we're becoming adults too. So we can't be relying on our parents no more to speak for us. And then think about this too. This is very, 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 very super, super important. Y'all are growing up in an age and in an era where I'm 42, some of the other people in the room are a little bit older. We never had to deal with some of the stuff y'all deal with because we are social media immigrants.
Yep.
We're internet immigrants. We were here before there was internet. Well, some of us, right? We were here before social media. Some people are growing up right now where they don't even know a world without the internet or social media. So there's different type of obstacles and things that y'all are learning today that you have to overcome and challenges you're dealing with. I don't know nothing about as an adult. Right? So what that means is, even though I may be a little bit older, there are a lot of instances where I am your student. You got to teach me. And sometimes you're going to come in contact, well, you already know some adults. You can't tell them nothing. You can't tell them nothing. So, in building that type of support system that gives you immunity from a lot of the things that teach you other than who you are, make sure you connect with adults that are willing to learn from you, that are open to that. Because if they have this mindset like you can't tell them nothing, a lot of times y'all dealing with a whole different landscape and some of that information don't apply. They don't apply. And if they are, respectfully disagree. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, some of the youth could be like, yo, you can't tell me this, that, and the third. But sometimes you just gotta grin and bear, like, okay, and know that they're wrong, and just walk off, and strive to connect with adults that are really willing to learn. So, anybody got any questions for me? Any questions? You can ask me about anything.
I got a question for you. My name is Tomorrow, by the way, everybody. Man, that's great. That's really good stuff.
Yeah.
So what would you say to everyone sitting in this room right now? How would you recommend that they begin their journey to discovering who they are? What are the first steps to discovering who they are?
Okay. One thing, take a piece of paper, write down a list of certain things that and be honest about it too. Don't be front. Write down things that you are good at, things that you recognize about yourself that you have a talent for, other things that you have a passion for, things that you might be interested in. That other blank list, write down things that you need to work at, things that you may not be so good at. Some of y'all may not be too good at speaking in front of people. Right? How many people don't like speaking in front of groups?
Oh. Oh boy.
Okay, y'all need to work at that.
Yeah. Public speaking.
You never gonna have an opportunity to speak in front of a group?
I see that.
Okay, so you gotta be prepared because you never know. You know what I'm saying? What if you're the class valedictorian or you're getting an award for something and you gotta say a few words? What you gonna do?
Hi. Bye.
That's a start.
You said a few words.
That's a start.
So like a couple of weeks ago, I was frustrating. I was really frustrated.
Yeah, hold
with
on.
myself.
Excuse me, lady, she's talking.
I was really frustrated with myself because I kept wondering, who am I? Because I have no idea who I am.
Yeah.
And like a couple days later, I was getting more and more frustrated until I realized that I was limiting myself because I was trying to put myself in a category. And like putting yourself in a category, that's dangerous because then you try to be that person that you're not really sure of. Because that category that you think you are is probably not who you are. If that makes sense. So then afterwards, I was talking to my friend and I was telling my friend that instead of like coming up with who I am or telling someone like about me, like from now on, I'm just gonna tell them I'm a work in progress. And that way I could like achieve to be who I want to be instead of who I might
Work in
be.
progress too.
You said you're
That life.
You're
Mentality is
already-
wonderful.
You're already well advanced
Yep.
because there's not many people your age that's even thinking about that.
Yeah. You acknowledge it too. That's amazing.
Yeah. Like most of us be on an autopilot, like y'all, not even thinking about nothing. You know what I'm saying? Not, so a part of that list in a tangible way, write down certain things that you identify that you want to do, that you need to work on. There's always some practical steps to take. If this brother right here said that he don't like, speaking in front of groups and all this other stuff, they have groups like Toastmasters, or you can get books that teach you effective public speaking.
I can speak in front of a class like this, but like in front of thousands of people now.
Okay. So, what do you want to do in life?
Play football. I got a couple things.
You want to play football, which means you want to perform in front of thousands of people.
Right.
Right. You want to be great at what you want to do. You don't ever think somebody's going to stick a mic in your face like, yo, tell me about why you was able to do this, that, and the third. You got to prepare yourself for that. That's a part of your vision of where you want to be. But do you see how right now you're limiting yourself from even achieving that vision? Because you can't see yourself there. You have to take steps to see yourself where you want to be. And a part of that is very, very practical. Learn how to speak in front of groups of people. There's mad resources to just practice that. You know? You got a question?
How did you get into this,
What I do? For one, I had a good support system with my parents. Right? They never had me. I get choked up talking about it. So. They didn't put limitations on me. And they always encouraged me and made sure, because I got 6 siblings, made sure that we had resources so that we could explore and learn who we were. I didn't grow up in a box. My mother was a social psychologist.
That makes sense.
Right? My father, he was more culturally orientated, so he collected African artifacts. So I learned a lot about my ancestry growing up too. And that gave me a sense of pride and motivation, because that was a part of self that a lot of us don't know, especially if we've gone through the transatlantic slave trade and some of our ancestors went through slavery. A lot of our identity was erased. Culture, our customs, our idea of religion, names, a lot of that was erased. The good thing about it is I had the type of parents, and then I had other people in my life that helped reinforce my identity. They were that support system of immunity, so that when I came in certain situations, I had the confidence to be able to stand on what I knew. Not to be wavered like people could just tell me anything. You can't tell me anything about my family or my ancestors or what I know, because I'm researching that. I had the type of support system, you know? So going back to what I said earlier about everything that you've gone through in life is a perfectly written script, I also begin to look back and be like, dang, I can see certain experiences or events that was happening in my life that confirmed who I was. So in 2nd grade, I helped publish a book called The Runaway Pizza. This is 2nd grade, right? By the time I got to middle school, my peers, my friends, they wanted me to write love letters for them to get girls. So I was like the official love letter writer, right? When I got to 8th grade, I got introduced to an author by the name of Edgar Allan Poe. And I read all of his stuff, right? So that's when I began to realize, like, yo, I love reading, I love writing. And over time, that began to evolve to the point where I started to write articles. Like I've written articles for publications around the world. And then I started to publish books. And then I began to help other people who wanted to self-publish, publish books. So like I said, I could look back at this path and be like, yo, there were certain confirmations that identified who I always was through all of these different experiences. What's
What
up?
about the music though?
Yeah, same thing. My mother was a pianist, and my grandmother, she played the organ. My father played the bass for a band in like high school called the El Morocco, so I always had music around me too. So all of these were elements in my formative years, early on, that helped shape my narrative of who I am.
All right, so you say the whole I own my hand, but I'm not my hand.
Yeah.
How do you define yourself?
You want me to really get deep?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's already.
Do it.
Yeah, might as well
Do
already
it.
heard
You ultimately are consciousness in the form. You are not the form, you are consciousness in the form. Those of you that read the Bible,
So like your
right?
soul.
Yeah.
Soul,
Pretty much. Yep.
undifferentiated matter, energy, intelligence, mind, all of these different words represent what you ultimately are, which is intangible intelligence. Because you can't even think about what I'm saying without using consciousness first. So consciousness is the underlying theme of all of that. And the Bible tells you right up front that you are created and made in the image and the likeness of God. It tells you that. But a lot of people just skip over that and they say, well, I'm just a human. This, that, and the third. Even Jesus talking about, yo, people behind me, they're going to do greater works than me. People just skip over that because a lot of the things we learn in this American culture contradicts what that is. So another part of what I'm talking about is you have to go back and study ancient civilizations and societies that had different perspectives of who they were. America's how old? 241 years? A lot of people just think and study American history or whatever, and that is young. 241 years? There are trees in Japan older than this country. And that's not even talking about the society of people. If you look at Western African culture, like Yoruba culture, that's like 10,000 years old. You have to study various different societies that have thought about some of these things. Here's something else to consider, and this is a little bit deep. Time is really just the calculation of change.
Yep.
In order to calculate change, you need a device called a clock or a sundial, right? Now, if you're the one creating the clock or the sundial to tell time, you have no said birth record. You were here before time. You're creating a device to calculate that. So you are before that. So if you go and you start studying a lot of ancient civilizations, you see them thinking about ideas that people today have not even figured out. At all. At all. But if you're just trapped into 241 years of American society where you have people that are very immature, they're young, they have not lived long enough to think about certain things, then you're going to be a reflection of that same type of mentality. Study ancient Japan. Study societies in Africa. And find out, what did they think about what the self was? Study Indian cultures. They've been around for thousands of years. They will tell you what self is. It's a lot different than the way people define self here in this country. And you learn different elements of culture too. In America, the standard American diet is meat in the middle and maybe a few vegetables around the edges of it. They're starting to change some of the ideas of what the standard American diet is. But you go to other societies, you don't see that. You don't see meat as no centerpiece in their diet. And then you look at how they live and how long they live and the vigor of the people. And it's like, dang, maybe that has something to do with their diet. But you have to take time to research that for yourself. People not just gonna give that to you. Because going back to what I said earlier, sometimes it's not in people's best interest for you to know any of that. Because if you knew how to keep yourself healthy and well, what use is the doctor?
Pretty much.
Do he want you? No. If you know how to do work in various different areas of your house. You may not need no carpenter. You wouldn't need anything like that.
That's good.
You know? So part of that is you have to do your own research and learn on your own.
So I have a question for you, because I was thinking about when I think the young lady asked you, how did you get started? And you mentioned your support was initial and it was very instrumental in creating you. What about people who don't necessarily come from those environments where they have that support? How do they then start advocating for themselves? What if they don't have a support of mom and dad or grandmother, or they kind of like out here alone? How do you move forward to discovering who you are without that type of support?
For one, you have to be self-motivated.
Yeah.
Meaning, you got to get up and do it yourself. And if you're not willing to get up to take one step forward, then you just going to sit in the same place that you've been sitting in. And when you take that step, you have to look to connect with people that are going to reinforce your path. They don't got to be physical family,
Nope.
but there's always going to be people around that see you,
Yep.
that see you.
Yep. Acknowledge it.
Because keep in mind, even though that you're young, you may have different names and different personalities. A lot of your characteristics, your goals, your ideas, your ambitions, a lot of us who are older, we've seen that before. We might have grew up with people with the same kind of personalities, the same kind of dispositions. But now we're a little bit older and we know how to better relate with people that have that disposition, that personality, those type of goals, and we are willing to assist. So you have to connect with people who you may not have right in your immediate environment, but connect with them. Especially in this social media era, there's a lot of people that you can connect with and learn from that reinforce a lot of the things that I'm sharing today. So you have to make your family. If you ain't got one, make your family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hold on.
Cool question, Mr. Boy.
This is like piggybacking on what you said. I don't really have support at all, and I don't have a father in my life.
Okay.
So like, whenever I tell my mom things I want to do or the things that I have dreams about, she kind of just goes, "Oh, okay," or "Good luck with that," or she'll try to like connect me with her in a type of way. But it's like it's nothing positive that ever really comes out of her mouth. But like her and these three in the back are people that support me for everything.
Good.
That's awesome.
So I know this young man as a kid, and I've seen him developing into who he is today. And just like you said, he had some strong parents. So there was people in his community that didn't have that support system, but they were connected to him and his parents, and they saw what they kind of wanted. They saw the development in the house, just like you see certain friends and stuff. And it's like what he said, you got to know who you are connected to. I'm 50 years old, and I knew at an early age, 7, 8, the same group of friends, the people I grew up with, and figure out how they were connected, just like you guys are in high school. And he said something very important. He said, see who they want to be, see who self is. Because who you are identifying, if it's clothes, like he said, I'm enjoying this presentation, because I'm so proud of them. Those people you're connected, you got to understand why you're connected to them. What are you gravitating? Is that the investment that you want? Because people you're connected to is going to pay the dividends to what you're going to do in the future. Because we ain't even got to kind of create this. Who you hang out with, or who deposits into you, who you communicating with, what you listening to, what you reading, like he said, what you seeing on TV, that's what you're going to become, is that's what you're digested in. But if you look beyond, like he said, then you have the potential. I'm just looking I'm like, I left this room and I'm so excited. I'm 49, about to be 50. And I listened to him, and I was so proud, like he was saying about his parents, and I'm sitting back there, and I'm like, and he said something, and he didn't even share. He could brag about some things, like, because when he was your age,
Modest.
when he was your age, he was all West New York in football. He didn't share that because that's not just who he is. But when you were saying you was a football guy, he could have easily boasted that. He was a basketball player, football player. So he had those talents and those abilities, but that's not who he is today. I'm just so proud of you. So I didn't, you closed it out, but you've been doing it.
Okay, last thing I want to say too, just to add on to what she said, is, let me make this short. With my father, right, I had challenges with my relationship with him growing up because I thought that just because he's older, that he should automatically have certain skill sets as my father. And that created a lot of challenges because I didn't realize that just because someone's older, that just means they're older. You could be more evolved than your parent and know certain, they can have more skill sets than your own parent. It doesn't devalue them, but you have to be honest about accepting them for who and what they are. And realizing that some people have not evolved or developed certain skills, even if they're your parents. And you need to connect with those who do have those skills. And they may be your own peer.
Yeah, right. I know exactly.
Let's give him a hand, y'all.